Hi there, my name is Danielle McAllister, and I am a special education teacher in the Bemidji School District of Northern Minnesota. And I'm going to lead you through a presentation that I have created for teachers and staff working at our school to better learn the needs of autism spectrum disorder students. There are specific challenges that they face, whether it's biological, sensory, behavior, or communication, and it's best to know how to serve these students in an inclusion setting and in a setting more specific to them, such as a resource room or a self-contained setting. Through this presentation, you will learn things about students that have autism spectrum disorder that separates them from a general education student, such as their peers in the mainstream setting. And I hope you can learn something from this presentation. If there's any other questions you have, feel free to reach out. Thank you so much.
It's important that we talk about how to care for our special education students in the general education classroom, such as inclusion, and to get a little bit of background about what behaviors and sensory needs and biological disorders, as well as communication needs, students will have as they're entering the classroom. To get started, let's talk about general education and how we have evolved. We are now including students with special needs in our classroom it's called inclusion. And with education constantly evolving and autism on the rise, it is now said to affect 1 in 44 children. So more and more students are coming in with autism disorder and entering into the mainstream. More teachers are welcoming students on autism spectrum, and with people with ASD, they often have problems with various different things such as social communication, interaction. They have restricted behaviors, repetitive behaviors, and interests. There's people with autism that may have different ways of learning and moving and paying attention than a general education student. Inclusion is the way that we include special education students in the general education classroom. So it's important that we get everybody on the same page as far as what we're going to be doing with behaviors and discipline and sensory needs of students with autism. Most students on the autism spectrum disorder are included within the general education classroom because it is a right. Teachers should ensure that they have some education on autism so that they can successfully integrate a child with special needs into the classroom. Inclusion can benefit more than just the students with autism, but also the other students as well, as they learn about autism and they learn about other students with autism. Characteristics of students with autism will include avoiding eye contact. Maybe they're going to fixate or focus on parts of objects instead of the whole. They get upset by minor changes, especially in routine, and they might have obsessive interests or fixations on things that they're going to want to continue to focus on and talk about. Sometimes they need to follow certain routines, and getting out of those routines is uncomfortable for them. They have stemming behaviors such as flapping hands, rocking their body, or spinning in circles. They might also have unusual reactions to the way things sound, smell, taste, look, or feel. Often there are delayed language skills, delayed movement skills, hyperactive, impulsive, or inattentive behavior, unusual eating or sleeping habits, and sometimes physical issues like gastrointestinal issues. There's unusual mood or emotional reactions, anxiety, stress, or excessive worry, and lack of fear or more fear than expected. Some of the challenging behaviors of students with autism spectrum disorder can be as aggression towards others, sometimes self-injurious behaviors, severe tantrums. Aggression may include scratching, biting, hitting, or kicking. May include excessive scratching or rubbing, hair pulling, hand biting, head banging, or face slapping, and these tantrums may include one or all of those behaviors all at once. Oftentimes, it's usually a stimulus that provokes the behavior, and soon after, the behavior is reinforced, either positively or negatively, with one or more consequences. The results are either going to increase or decrease that behavior. So it's important to take those things into consideration when you are either disciplining or not disciplining or giving reinforcements. It's important to have a plan. Inclusion of students with autism spectrum disorder is a right, and it is up to a caring teacher to support and create a positive relationship with them. Inclusion in classrooms increases the overall knowledge of students with autism. Disciplining students with autism is something that's very important because we tend to go towards instincts when we want to enforce a certain behavior, but following a decision-making process before using any behavior reductive techniques is important. Traditional punishment is very easy to use, but we're not going to turn to that with our special education students. Generally, in our society, they rely on punishment as a mechanism for controlling behavior. And even now, schools are still relying on negative consequences for inappropriate behavior rather than relying on positive and proactive strategies. A guiding principle we have to remember is changing inappropriate student behavior requires that we change our own behaviors. Behavior intervention plans must include positive behavior strategies and supports. The summary of specific factors that we're going to need to consider in the classroom are that students have biological and sensory needs when they're on the spectrum. Many autistic people struggle with coexisting conditions, and these can include depression, anxiety. They're going to have unusual responses to sensory information. The learning environment styles that we need to consider for students with autism are that sensory items are available, such as a different place to sit or something for them to draw with or to fidget with their hands. And we need to make sure that there are low distractions around the room where less decorations and less visibility to other classrooms are available. Also, you can change the lighting in your room so that it's less of a sensory overload. Lower lighting is better, textures that are more able for them to handle, and sound considerations so that you're not right next to, say, a cafeteria or if you don't have music going on in your background. It is the right of a student with autism spectrum disorder to be in the classroom, and the more knowledgeable that teachers can be of autism spectrum disorder, the better that we can serve the needs of students with ASD and for the needs of the teachers teaching students with ASD. Thank you so much.